Move. This is war cry. Candles, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is war cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is war cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is war cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is war cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is war cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is war cry. HBCUs under attack. This is war cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is war cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is war cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people. Pray for our communities. Pray for our schools. Pray for our churches. Pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is war cry. Home of the land. Home of the brave. Land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is war cry. Hashtag.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. No copyright infringement intended. All rights belong to their respective owners.
Mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their son. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is war cry. This is war cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is war cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence. Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is war cry. Police brutality. Hands up. Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is war cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence. This is war cry. Galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in school. This is war cry. Candles, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is war cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is war cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is war cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is war cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is war cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is war cry. HBCUs under attack. This is war cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is war cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is war cry. Let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches, pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is war cry, home of the land, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is war cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is war cry. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is war cry. And if you've never believed it before, you better believe it now. We need a war cry. Have you noticed what's going on in Florida? And we've allowed it. We kept our mouth shut, and they finally passed the bill. This is war cry for our children, war cry for our schools, war cry for our communities, war cry for our churches, and war cry for you. I don't care if you're retired. I don't care where you're at. You better come back and get back in the game because it's time for us to fight. We need everyone with a voice to work this thing out with us, to send emails and texts to Florida to let them know enough is enough is enough. You know what? Too far. You have absolutely lost your mind. When you start saying slavery was beneficial to us and it learned us a vocation. Oh, well, I don't want to get into it. We got some great guests on here and our other co-hosts, and we're going to get into the show, and I don't want to preempt. But let me just tell you, somebody lost their mind in Florida. Because if you say that my ancestors was taken over here from Africa so you could learn them a trade on how to pick cotton, first of all, they were already architecturals. They already was farmers when they came over here. You didn't learn them nothing, but I won't go into that. This is war cry for our children, our communities, our schools, and everything that affects us as a people. This is an urban radio show. And guess what? It is Christian. But guess what? Christians get tired, and we're going to talk about these things. The churches need to be activated anyway. Now, if you want to join us or support us, or you have some children that you would like for us to pray for, because we have a continuous 24-hour prayer for our kids, you can call us or send it to warcry.children@gmail.com, warcry.children@gmail.com. And guess what? Don't only pray for your kids, but pray for your neighbor's kids. Pray for the kids that live down the street, around the corner. Pray for the kids that's standing on the block. Pray for them and be alert, because some school systems have already started and some of them are getting ready to start. And the enemy is out to destroy our kids. And how is he going to destroy them? By destroying the curriculum, which is their heritage. We didn't learn enough anyway about our heritage, but now they're trying to erase us out. This is war cry, and we're mad about it. You can get a shirt that says, I am praying for our children. Christians, you better come on post. Now, you know what the Bible has called you to do, and you know you haven't been doing what you should have been doing. Get a t-shirt. Get a t-shirt. Contact us on our website, War Cry for Our Children. The shirt says, I am praying for our children. Stand in front of the kids. And this is especially Florida. Florida, you need to be flooding my website getting the shirt, because you guys really need help. Where are the churches? Churches, you say that you're woke. Something is obviously going wrong. But we're not going to get into that. Hit us up on our website. War cry for our children. Send us to school district that you're going to be praying for, your size, and I will give you a shirt as long as you do what we asked you to do, and that's to pray for our children. Or if you need children, if you have a list of children to pray for, hit us up on warcry.children@gmail.com. And if you want to call or text, you can text us or call us on 347-426 5302. This is war cry, and I'm mad about it. I'm mad about affirmative action. I'm mad about what they're doing. Let me tell you something. This is an epidemic. It's starting in Florida. It's going to be in Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas. So you better get on board and fight. Oh, good morning, guys. I see you are here. I hope you're just as mad about this thing as I am. Dr. Gregory Johnson, how do you feel about it? Introduce yourself and let me know. How do you feel about what Florida DeSantis is doing? And it wasn't only him. It was Dr. William Allen, and we're going to talk about him. He's a brother. He agreed with, matter of fact, he wrote the curriculum. The Florida State Academic Standards, Social Studies 2023 is 216 pages long. And let me tell you, I attempted to read it, but when I got to certain points, I had to put the document down. It was very disturbing. Dr. Gregory Johnson, come on, welcome everybody, our listeners, and tell them how you feel about it.
Good morning, good morning. I have been on the telephone all day yesterday discussing this matter with two very close friends of mine who have retired and moved to the state of Florida. One is in Tampa, another one was in Miami, and they were crying. They said had they known what they would be moving into, they would never left New York. And it's really sad. One says, who lives in Tampa, she says when she goes to the supermarket, so you can feel the resentment. You can feel the stress. You can cut it with a knife, she says. The one who lives in Miami, she said she's almost scared to go to church. She said because she says the white folks in the church where she goes, they're looking her up and down like, what you doing here? And I said, listen, and these people say they claim Christ, and yet they're looking at them like that. They're letting them. We have black folks in this church, but why don't you go find your own church to go to? That's what they feel.
Yeah, no, this thing is serious because they want to erase Rosewood. They did a good job already. Remember Rosewood, Dr. Eric?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. That is just only one of the examples of how they've tried to exterminate Black people. They start with the Black male, of course, and we all have targets on our back. So Rosewood is just one example of the entire anxiety and fear and loss of their population that they're responding to. So any little thing that happens, they will react to it with vengeance and annihilation of the Black person. They are jealous.
Absolutely.
They are it's just ridiculous. So, I'm encouraging people to read the Francis Quest Welsing theory of racial injustice and white supremacy. You must read that. Now, she has, as I've talked to several of my colleagues, presented the white man in theory, but the behavior is what we see, and it is actually against humanity. So I look at their behavior as human-like, but they are not human. They're trying to be. Now, I could start anywhere, but just let me say that I am not surprised at the behavior of the people in Florida and John DeSantis as their representative as being so anti-humane, anti-awareness, anti-education, anti-family. Just that they need to be annihilated themselves.
Now, let me just say something to you, Dr. Eric. Governor DeSantis actually picked a committee to write the Florida educational bill. And in that committee, leading up that committee, was a person of color like yourself and me. His name was Dr. William Allen. Now, Dr. William Allen, he was the former chairman of the U.S. Commissioner of Civil Rights. He also was a part of the Florida African Standards History Program. He's a professor. He's a author. He is a teacher, and he has over 40 years in the public school system. So that Governor DeSantis actually selected him to be the chairperson of writing up this new bill. And in the bill that he wrote, he himself put down that slavery was beneficial to us. And I don't want to misquote the brother, because you can read the bill yourself. It's the Florida State Academic Standards and Social Studies 2023. Now, we only have 5 Black Republicans in the Senate and the House, and all 5 of them have came against this and said, how in the world can you say that slavery was beneficial to us? 400 years of evil was not a net gain for us. Dr. Gregory, what do you think about that statement?
Well, reverting back to Dr. Claude, when he mentioned my mentor, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I was one of her students. And one thing she told us, and I was shocked, she said, and I really didn't understand. She says, always remember this, young man, they are afraid of you and me. And you have no idea how terrified they are. But one day you will understand.
Dr. Johnson, I want to interrupt you. Yes. But this was a black man, Dr. William Allen, and a group of other people that look like us, along with white people, who wrote this up. So I want to let you know, it was just not Governor DeSantis. He put together a team. So the writing did not come from DeSantis. Now, he may have been influenced. He may have influenced them. But this brother, we're going to go to the video, is defending what he did. So when we say the white man, we got to also look at our input. Our input means there was people of color that wrote this up about us. Back at you, Dr. Johnson. Dr. Eric, go ahead.
Yes, please. We are missing something here that is right. It's like the elephant in the room. We here have been indoctrinated and been placed in a position where we have been told one thing. And obviously the behavior is another thing. But the important piece that I want to share is that we have identified with these people. It's called the Stockholm complex, or the identified with the aggressor complex. But what we are doing, and now you have to understand, Mr. DeSantis was in the Navy. He served for about 10 years. He was active in Iraq. He was an officer in Guantanamo Bay. He was one of the lawyers that were killing and torturing and waterboarding all of these people. You're talking about a dangerous man who is going to definitely try to convince everybody. He went to Yale and he went to Harvard as law school lawyer. So, he's bright and he knows how to figure these things out. So he's going to look into and see who Black he can convince to join him. So you just have some puppets here. And the reason why I'm pointing out the education part of it is that Dr. William Allen is educated, but he's educated.
Yes, he's educated.
White supremacy mode. He's not into no black
mode. He was the former commissioner of the Civil Rights Program.
Yep. So and what's your point?
And over African studies. So he knows his history, which is our history, but obviously there's a problem. Engineer, take us to the first video. Let's hear.
Go ahead.
I told you this was going to happen. Now it is illegal in the state of Florida to teach African American studies. Yes, it's against the law. Well, that's according to the administration of this fella, Governor Ron DeSantis out of Florida. Let me give you the background. So the governor has rejected a new AP course that stands for Advanced Placement in African American Studies from being taught in high schools. High schools. It's his latest action to keep woke conversations and lessons out of school. So let's dig into this. DeSantis officially banned, if you remember, the course in a letter from the state education department to the College Board, the organization that administers college readiness exams like the SAT. They also oversee advanced placement courses, AP, which allows students to earn college credits in subjects like English and chemistry. In a January 12th letter to the College Board, the Florida Education Department said the course is inexplicably contrary to Florida law and significantly lacks educational value. I need you to think about this statement. Think about this statement. They're saying, well, one, if you teach African American studies, it is contrary to Florida law. And it actually lacks educational value. Please understand, they have courses that literally teach you how to basket weave. And that is allowable under the elective category of the educational system. But you cannot teach a course called African American Studies. So it is a double whammy. It is against the law statutorily. And their opinion, their personal opinion is it lacks the educational credibility it should have. Now, you do realize that if it's already against the law, they do not need to present their opinion as to the educational prowess of the program. They decided to insert that. Why? Because they couldn't help themselves. Why is it against the law? Well, remember, all of these bills that permeated from the so-called anti-critical race theory bills were aimed to do one thing: to distort the history of this country, to eliminate the reality of bias, prejudice, and racism by white men, in particular, racist white men in this country, to present a false narrative because they know that the children in those schools are the future leaders of this country.
Yep.
They also know that the leaders of the country, the future leaders of the country, will be able to solve the problems that they left, which if that happens, it becomes an indictment on their own legacy, their own tradition, and their own leadership. They're not protecting children, ladies and gentlemen. They're protecting their own asses by
That's right.
manipulating.
All right, engineer. All right, engineer. Let's go back. All right, Dr. Gregory Johnson, I'm gonna let you jump off the cliff first.
What we have here with this particular educational doctor, and I'm very hurt to hear that he's a man of color. It's the first I'm hearing this, but this is nothing but another Clarence Thomas. And I'm wondering how much did they pay this man? Because if he did a brief that long, they paid him well. He is bought and paid for. That is nothing but a modern day slave with a doctorate degree. That's all he is.
Yes.
And he's dangerous, not only to the black folks, he's dangerous to America. Because if you get somebody with that type of intelligence to get that stupid, that's a dangerous man. That means he has no conscience. Dangerous man. He has no conscience. He has no feelings. And his spirituality is probably shot, if any is left. To turn against your own people.
Now, Dr. Johnson, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And this brother, and we're going to hear from this brother because the next clip we're going to listen to is this brother because I want you to see him in case y'all see him on Jamaica Avenue or on 149th Street and 30th. I want you to be able to identify the brother. You know, this brother, we're going to bring him up. So bring him up now, engineer. Give me the second clip. This is Dr. William Adams. I don't know, maybe the clip even refusing to play with this brother on it, but this Dr. William Adam, he is a well-represented brother. Still not theologian, but well-educated. He graduated from some of the most prestigious schools, engineer. If you can bring him back up again. Because I want them to see him.
You got to hit the play button. I see the play button on the bottom here.
Okay, engineer may be having a problem. But engineer, as soon as you can work that out, bring it up. Okay, bring clip number 3 up, engineer. Bring clip number 3 up then.
Welcome back to America Decides. There is national attention on Florida's new education standards that now include teaching middle school.
It went again. He had to hit it again. Hit play down at the bottom left.
Because we're having a little, but we're going to go on with the conversation. Okay. But this is a brother who sit there and he said it. He said, "There, go ahead. We're back on the screen. We're back on the screen."
You got to hit play.
He said that there were some benefits. There, let them work it out.
Enslaved people actually benefited from slavery. The new teaching guidelines are a result of legislation known as the Stop Woke Act that Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law last year. The bill required the rewriting of the state's education standards. Part of the new standards say students should be taught about the, quote, harsh conditions enslaved people endured, but also, quote, how slaves developed skills which, in some instances, could be applied for personal benefit, unquote. Vice President Harris has seized on the issue in recent days in a series of appearances across the country. Last Friday, she traveled to Florida to draw more attention to the issue. And today in Chicago, she condemned the changes yet again.
And for these extremists, that was not enough. They now push forward revisionist history. They push propaganda. They suggest that enslaved people benefited from slavery, as they insult us in an attempt to gaslight us. Well, we will not have it.
Yes, we will not have it.
DeSantis was asked about the new education standards on Friday while campaigning in Utah. He said this.
You should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it and I wasn't involved in it. But I think what they're doing is I think that they're probably going to show some of the folks that eventually parlayed, being a blacksmith into doing things later in life. But the reality is all of that is rooted in whatever is factual. They listed everything out. And if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education.
Well, we did ask, and we had hoped to speak today with Florida Education Commissioner Manny Diaz Jr. about these changes. CBS News has followed up several times today and received no reply. If and when they do reply or consent to an interview, you'll see it here. But we do have a critic of these changes with us tonight, Florida Democratic State Senator Chevron Jones, who represents part of Miami-Dade County and is a member of the state Senate's Committee on Education, joins us now. Senator, thank you for being with us. I know you've expressed concern with these standards. Other language in it, I've got about the first 21 pages of the new standards here, which have to do with African-American history. And I believe it's on page 17 that the standards say if high schoolers learn about race massacres, teachers must include, quote, acts of violence perpetrated against and by African-Americans. In essence, suggesting that, yes, things happen to African-Americans, but they may have also committed acts of violence. You serve on the state Senate's Education Committee. How troubled are you by that, by what it says about how slaves may have benefited from being enslaved?
First, thank you again for having me. And I continue to have to check to make sure it's 2023 and not 1963 with some of these policies that we're dealing with in Florida. It's a shame that I even have to say this, but slavery just was not a benefit to the enslaved. This idea that slavery was a benefit to the enslaved is absolutely asinine. Teaching that they gained skills from slavery just totally implies they didn't have skills to begin with, which is insane. They brought a knowledge and were not compensated for it. It's appalling, but it's also not surprising because this is the very same administration that for the past 6 months they did away with the African American studies through the College Board. They did away with what you can and cannot say when you're teaching African American studies. So there's no surprise to me that we have landed here today and that the department is trying to walk back their comments because they know what they did was wrong and disgusting.
Now, and we should point out, this is about a 215-page document that lays out all sorts of social studies curricula for grades kindergarten through 12th grade. The two things we've called out are 21 pages of suggested things on African American history, including teaching first graders about African American artists, teaching older students about African Americans who demonstrated heroism and patriotism, and it includes Booker T. Washington, Jesse Owens, President Obama. It's these two and other things said about slavery and violence to or against African Americans that has caused this grave concern and drawn so much attention. What do you make of Governor DeSantis now saying that he isn't to blame for this?
Well, Governor DeSantis is the governor. He has been the same one over the last few years who has been wanting to be the governor. He wants to be the Chief Justice. He wants to be the Speaker of the House, Senate President. Yeah, he has been leading with a strong hand, so much so that the senators and the House members can't even operate as an independent body because everything goes through the governor's office. And this idea that they even use someone like the Booker T. Washington to justify, Booker T. Washington became successful later in life, long after their emancipation, in spite of their time as a slave. It wasn't because of it. And so this continued misrepresentation of who we are as African Americans, we run the risk of raising an entire generation of young people who do not know who they are, where they come from, and the truth about their history. That is the epitome of indoctrination.
Okay, engineer, we're going back to the host. We're going back to our team. Okay, we've heard it. Governor DeSantis has said, I didn't do it. You heard him with your own ears. He said, I didn't do it. This was the Department of Education. This was Dr. William Allen, who happens to be a Black man. This is what they put together. They did the research. They have the facts. It's authentic and it's real. I didn't do it. Department of Education did. Why are you guys blaming me? Okay, Dr. Eric Johnson. Dr. Johnson first and then Dr. Eric. Hey, did you hear what else they said? They said, wait a minute. We're going to tell you how bad slavery was, but how about black on black crime? You guys are fighting each other. Dr. Johnson, what you think?
It goes back to the old facts that they've been using for a long time, divide and conquer. Now it's intelligence versus stupidity. They actually think we are naive enough to accept this as a reality of our history. We know what slavery was. Wait a
minute, let me ask you a question, Dr. Johnson. Was slavery beneficial to us?
That's like saying, was the Holocaust beneficial to the European Jews?
Very good.
Was it?
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you another question. Did slavery teach us, and us being Africans that was taken over here, different crafts that we could use in order to move forward? Dr. Johnson.
All those talents that we brought here from Africa, we showed and shared it with the white slave owners. We were talented when we got here. The white folks didn't teach us nothing. We taught them. They just
now, did they teach us how to farm?
No, they did not.
Did they teach us about mathematics?
No, they did not.
Did they teach us about the culture or how to build?
No, they did not. We were building before they knew what being a building was. We were building while they were still living in caves.
They still can't figure out how the pyramids. They still can't how the pyramids was built.
And that's
okay. Dr. Eric.
Yes, there's so much to discuss here. Let's do first of all with the so-called Dr. Allen. He is one of the 12 disciples. He was Judas. He is our modern day Judas, where he is going to turn against his people, against all of us who are struggling here in this country under this minority white supremacist racist group. So that's the first thing. And then I looked up Dr. Williams, so-called doctor, and he got some, I've heard of the college that he got his doctorate from, but it was a conservative issue. Everything about him is conservative. So he is indoctrinated. He is, like Dr. Gregory was saying, he is a Clarence Thomas. He just didn't get enough to be selected for Supreme Court. Now, there's nothing about him that impresses me. I don't know how he got to Pepperdine. I don't know how he got to these other universities as a professor, but I know that he's feeding into the lie. He's going to definitely have a negative impact on all of our children. So I'm not sure who Manny Diaz is, but the whole thing that we were saying is that it's like the Holocaust. Did those people enjoy being there? And how about the Indian reservation? You think they love being on an Indian reservation? This is all a design against people of color. So I am not surprised, and we need, heck with the woke up, we need to wake up. We got to all get together.
Yes.
Black men, we have to unite. We can't let this happen any further. We got to do something
Yes.
together.
And you're right. There is always going to be a group of us who work in the house. You know, I don't want to call them the word. They work in the house. You know, they're a little different in the field. They work in the house. I won't go that way, but you know where I'm coming from. You know, and they always go against us because we're in the field, because they want to keep getting the food from the master's table. And I'm not talking about Jesus. Okay. So we know that even though Governor DeSantis is saying he didn't do it, he said, I set up a committee, Department of Education. I put these people together, these educators, these experienced people. They came through it. They did studies, and they're saying that slavery was beneficial to the slave because, first of all, it taught the slave a trade and how to go out and be able to make it even when slavery was over with. So we owe everything to the white masters who killed us, who raped us, who hung us, who violated us, and who took us by force over here. Dr. Eric, it's you.
Yes. Now, they have not read. These people, although they may have a doctorate, they haven't read anything. If they need to get it clear, they got to see Sheikh Diop. Now, he has it all there. They need to read Ivan Van Sertima. They need to read these other historians and physicists and doctors who have shown us where all of the education, the medicine, the agricultural, everything has, and navigation, all of this comes from Africa. And even before the Kemitans or the Kemits, they have been here for thousands of years. And now all of a sudden, these people who call themselves white will say that they are the creators and the originators of everything that has happened. Maybe for them, but not for us.
But not for us. And the truth of the matter is, Dr. Gregory can attest to this. We know that the Philistines in the Bible created the weaponry, created the arrowheads and stuff like the metal. We were the first with the trades, learning the trades. We made the boats. So guess what? They didn't do anything. We knew how to do it when they were over here. And to say George Carver Washington, because he was a slave, a Booker T, because he was a slave, that made, oh, come on now. Come on. So let's now look at this question. What was slavery really about? What was slavery really about? Okay, Dr. Johnson, really, what was slavery really about?
The purpose for American slavery was for one thing only, to build America, free of charge. That's what it was.
Awesome.
It was to build America. It was a way to get cheap labor. It was a way to get disenfranchised English and Dutch immigrants who could not survive in Europe. They came to a country that they did not own. They took it over by force. They disenfranchised the Native Americans here, but they didn't have enough of them to do the work. They incorporated a country that needed free labor. Without free labor, we would not have the America that we have today. That's why they brought us here.
Absolutely.
For that reason only.
And
one.
I tell you what slavery did. It separated the family. It just degraded the black man. It violated the woman with rape. It brutalized a group of people that was kings and queens. Now we could flip the script and bring all the white people to Africa. Guess what? We'll show you what it was about. But because they brought us over here, you showed us what America really looks like. And you're trying to change our history through the curriculum? Are you crazy? We will not allow you to do that and sit back and not open our mouths. And for those people who are against the woke generation, well, guess what? I guess you're still sleeping, because we're going to open up our mouths. Now, Dr. William Allen, you are probably a brilliant historian. You probably know Black history, Black culture, because I see that in the Civil Commission, that was one of your specialties. But when it comes to the people, you are disconnected from us. If you're trying to paint the picture that we're going to talk about slavery, but we're also going to talk about Black on Black crime to justify what you guys are doing, we're not standing for that. Dr. Eric, what do you think? I'm mad. Too much is too much. You've gone too far. Affirmative action. Now this? No. We need, this can't go. And where's the church? We should have seen protest after protest. Dr. Johnson, you said you know church people in Florida. Where's the church? And I hope some people from Florida are listening. You guys are sitting back, and I know some of you guys are afraid because, you know, DeSantis is a powerful man. But is he too powerful enough that that's slavery? And guess what? The Alpha Phi Alpha, the Black fraternity, said that they was moving their convention. NAACP has said that we should boycott Florida. So all you guys running down to Disney World, let's hit them where it hurts. In the pockets. Go ahead, Dr. Eric.
Okay. So here we're talking about capitalism. Let me give you the definition of capitalism. Capitalism is an economic and political system in which the country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. Now, this whole thing is an era of free market capitalism where you have the few haves, but the have-nots are the ones that you use and you interrogate, indoctrinate, and make sure that they're going to do your bidding. Now, these gentlemen had the Mercedes-Benz and the houses out in the country who happen to be our color. They don't want to lose that. And the white people ain't going to give up what they have. We are now in a situation where we must join and boycott all of this stuff, everything. So we need to have.
I agree, but I must tell you, brother, something, and that is simply this: everyone that's this skin ain't kin. Everybody with this skin color is not kin, and there are a lot of people who are in agreement with Governor DeSantis and with the new curriculum. I just want to let you know that. And they're our color. They're saying that we want to paint a picture of brutality when it comes to slavery, and we want to indoctrinate a society of violence instead of looking at the benefits that slavery actually did with the, what was it, 40 acres and 1 mule? Well, I didn't get mine. Did you get yours, Dr. Johnson? You got your 40 acres and 1 mule? No. Okay, how about you, Dr. Eric? Did you get your 40? So we still owe that. They still owe us that.
Well, you know
Now,
what?
I
I
guess
think that we're going to have to take it. We're going to have to unite and take it. But we have to do it in a way that we definitely need security. We need somebody to protect us while we're taking it. Okay? We got to take it back. It's
yes,
going to,
because what is
you
happening is
know,
they
you
went
know,
after the vice president. Well, I just want they went. Do you know that I want you to look, I want you to Google everything we've talked about and all our listeners. I want you to pull up the document because I don't want you to ever think that War Cry is bringing you something that's not real. This is factual information, just as Governor DeSantis said it. It's factual information. Florida State Academic Standards Social Studies 2023. I want you to read it. I want you to also listen to what Dr. William Adams said to our vice president. It was so upsetting that she went to Jacksonville, Florida to hold a press conference there. I want you to see, because we're talking about white people, there's a lot of us that are actually engaging with this new. See, a lot of us don't want to face the reality of the ugliness of slavery. It was ugly. We got to face it. We got to know if we do not address it, that our young people who don't know their history will cease to exist. A people who don't know their history will cease to exist. That's why our Jewish brothers, do you know, they repeat the oral transition over and over. So even if you destroy the books, it's embedded in their children what happened, so it won't happen again. But we don't tell our kids about what happened. Period. We tell them that, Christopher Columbus came over here on the Mayflower Americans, and that's how America was discovered. No, it was not discovered that way. And enough is enough, and you went too far. Back at you, Dr. Eric.
yes, we are going to be, we need a guide. We need a leader. And we're finding, and we're looking at you, Elder Valerie, you are a leader. But Dr. Transwelsing's book can be an excellent guide for us to follow. And it should be in the curricula. And I have the concept of the education from the cradle to the university, not from elementary school to prison. It's a whole flip of the concept. And we as Black men have to in ourselves look at what we're doing, take our knowledge or gain that knowledge, and then share it with our sons.
Now, Dr. Eric, you just said something. Yes, War Cry is a leader, and we're going to continue to lead the way. We're going to continue to let people know and let people know what the church should be saying and what our government should be doing. But I want to just say, I want to be fair. I want to see if we can get in contact with Dr. Alan Williams and bring him on the show. In all fairness, I think we need to hear the brother. We need to hear the brother.
Well, I believe that we need to interview everyone who has a position and find out where that position comes from. People have looked at the emotional piece and the spiritualogical piece from American European perspective. Francis Cress Weldon, Dr. Francis Cress Weldon said, no, we don't look at it that way. That's something that this guy named Sigmund Freud looked at, and he still didn't resolve it. We have resolved it in our African country, our motherland.
I want to invite him on. And you know what? We're gonna respect the brother. We want to hear him out. I respect his accomplishment, but I want to invite Dr. William Allen on. Dr. Johnson, what do you think about that?
That sounds like a very good idea. It could be a blessing or it could be a curse. We got to prepare for it.
No, we want to respect the brother. We want to hear him out. Because guess what? We need to hear why.
Okay.
See, War Cry is both. I want to hear why. We may disagree with him, but why would you say this? Maybe he had a good reason. And maybe we don't know.
You know what the reason?
One thing we have to look at, when Christ at the Last Supper, Elder, he told Judas, go do what you plan to do quickly. That's what this doctor has done. He's done what he had to do quickly, and he's setting up a crucifixion. And the crucifixion is not just one man, he's talking about an entire people.
Yeah.
We are getting ready to be crucified.
Because guess what? It starts one place. Texas already working on change curriculum.
Yeah.
You know, it don't take much from Mississippi, Arkansas, and Kentucky. You know, they already changed the curriculum. They start throwing books away down south a long time ago because they don't want our kids to do that. But we've got to fight now. We've got to fight now for our children, for our legacies, for our inheritance. And we're not alone in this. And we're going to get together and fight some more. I want to invite Dr. William Allen on here because I'm sure, and I want to invite my other friend, Dr. O, too, but I'm sure this brother can defend himself. I mean, come on. He can go against y'all too easy.
Well, you know, I hope that he accepts the invitation. I got that feeling that he is going to say no. That's my feeling. That's all I have.
Because he said slavery was beneficial to the slave, and I really want to know what benefits did it have when it killed over 20 million people? Greater than that, because some of it wasn't even documented because it started with the Roman Catholic Church before they started coming to America. Okay, so I really want to know what the benefits was in that. And you're bringing a group of people that was already highly skilled. Period. I need to know that. Don't you need to know that, Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, because the people who benefited from slavery, they weren't human beings. They were the fish in the sea. They benefited. Yeah, they ate well.
Yeah.
They ate well. Yeah, they benefited.
Because thousands died. There were some of us that said, before we be a slave, we guess what? We'll kill ourselves. And they committed suicide and jumped over the boats.
And I probably would have joined them.
So, Dr. Eric, what do you like to say?
I would like to take some of them with me if that happens. You know what we're missing here is this whole psychological, or so-called psychological effect that this is having. This is where it all comes to fruition and all comes to a head. It's the psychological explanation and the psychological effect of those explanations that we're going for, and that these people who call themselves white supremacists go for. They're not going to look into it. And it's a denial. It's a dissociation. Now, I'm going to just drop this on you based on not only what I've heard from Dr. Chris Welsington, Welsing, but there's some other researchers who talk about melanin and the lack thereof, and that having melanin is a dominant trait, and a regressive trait is the non-melanin, and there are only a few of them, and they're going to do everything impossible to get that. But we're talking about the degenerates of albinos who have all been pushed to the north and were not able to be accepted in the Black family, and they didn't want them to generate or have children because it was a negative thing. But these people were still alive, and so they moved out, and now they have figured out that the only way that they can survive is through war, through killing, through violence, and anything that goes against that, they're going to make sure that it is annihilated. We have to understand.
And taking our history and modifying a curriculum that leaves us out is annihilating our people. And what better way it is? Remember, they used to say that if you want to keep a secret, put in a book, because Black people couldn't read it, we couldn't find it. That's what they used to say. What was that they used to say? Put something in a book and we would never find it. Well, that's a lie. Because the reason we couldn't find it is because we spoke another language. We spoke Hebrew, we spoke another language, and we didn't understand your language. It wasn't because we was ignorant. It was because we spoke multiple languages, and you failed to teach us how to learn your language properly. And they've always tried to peg us as being a very ignorant people, because we're known for this. When something happens, guess what? We all come together. But then as soon as it dies down, we run away. We don't continue to fight. It says, one of you, exactly, and English is not the measure of intelligence or intellect. That's right. Period. So that's one of the reasons why they always try to push us in a box. You didn't want the CPR, critical race theory. You didn't want that. Why? Because it made white people feel bad. Oh, it makes me feel bad. Why do I have to remember? I didn't do it. Well, you know what? It's because of what your ancestors did that we are in this situation we're in now.
And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, we're supposed to be standing on the back of our ancestors going up, but you stood on the back and went up.
They don't want to accept the reality that they benefited from what their ancestors did. And they benefited still today. And Dr. Claude, I'm glad you brought up about the albinos, because, I want to go just a little direction. If you read the book of Enoch, you will discover that Noah is described as being an albino. He had 3 black sons, but he was an albino. He was, and his father Lamech was so upset about him being an albino that he went to his father Methuselah, and Methuselah says, "Don't worry about Enoch, don't worry about Noah, worry about this. He is God blessed." So albino is a black man with no melanin.
Yes,
that's what he is, and it still is today.
Yes.
And these, the whites are.
Let me just bring this up. Lyndon B. Johnson said when he first put together the Commission of Equal Opportunity, he said, how can you think things are equal when you've oppressed the people for 400 years? Period. There has to be some leverage there to bring them up to a status of being equal. How can you say we're equal? Oh, you guys can do everything we can do. No, we cannot do everything that you can do. We've been oppressed for such a long time that we didn't have the same liberties that you have. And Turn 'em Loose Bruce said it. Doctor, you remember Turn 'em Loose Bruce?
Yeah,
Dr. Wright?
Yeah.
Judge Wright? White robes, black justice, or black justice, white robes.
I treated.
He said, "How can you?" He said he went into the hospital. I hope it wasn't Harlem Hospital, Greg.
Yes,
and
it was.
He was. No. He was in the emergency room at this hospital, dressed all up in his brother's suit. And then this white guy was over there that didn't have anything on. And guess what? The nurse took the chart and said, "Wrote." They put it over here, and they put his name on the white man and put the white man over him, and they was calling the white man Judge Bruce, and he said no, because guess what? Skin tone matters in America. We're discriminated just by our skin tone. So how can you say we don't need equal justice? We never got equal justice. Dr. Eric, what do you think about that?
What we're talking about is as you said, the skin color. The darker the skin, the more back you're going to be. Or what they say, if you're black, get back. If you're white, you're right. So this is.
But I gotta leave you. Look. I got to also say. They say the blacker the berry, what? The sweeter the juice.
Absolutely.
So wait, we good. So the women, we're good somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, we must change the narrative. You and this program are going in the right direction. That is why I come on. And if there's something that I can do to help and gain more people to come on this program to be educated, including the non-melanated ones who really know that what we're talking about is justified, is right, and it is the principles of spirituality that we deal with.
One of our viewers said more people need to be connected to us because we're doing a good work. Absolutely. Because look, it's no fear in us. We're going to say this is an urban radio station. It's Christian based. And guess what? We're going to say the hard things that the church should be saying. Churches need to organize and move ahead. Dr. Johnson, what would you say? Shouldn't the churches be involved?
Yes, the churches should be involved once they get a backbone. But until they get a backbone, let us understand this. They are afraid of people of color, and they are frantic. Look how they are acting now. Just like Francis Cress Welsing stated they would be, just like Malcolm X said they would be, just like A. Philip Randolph said it would be, just like Jesse Owens even found out how they're going to be. They are afraid of the black skin. They know our power. Unfortunately, we don't know it. We don't know how powerful we are.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Dr. Greg. Go ahead, Dr. Eric.
What you're talking about is a scientific and a biological issue where if you and everybody should be blessed if they have melanin, because this is what they're going to be, the dominant behavior. So they should be struggling to make sure that they have somebody in their family that has melanin in them, because it's a lifelong growth of humanity and truth and justice. The 7 principles.
Now, we've taken too much. Enough is enough. They pushed us too far. This is War Cry. And guess what, listeners? We need to attack someone else and bring them into it. We've got a lot of listeners listening all over. We thank you for all the comments. We'll be back next week at 11 a.m. And this is not going away. You may go away, but we're here to stay, because this is War Cry, and we're fighting for our children. And that's the thing about it. It's just not my children. It's just not your children. It's they're trying to annihilate all of us. They're trying to wipe us out.
You can
and
see
we don't come together and fight. Go ahead, Dr. Eric.
You know, that they have created medications for us to take. They have put all of the salt in all of the food. And then they've created the deserts, the food deserts. You have food deserts here in New York City. You have food deserts in the Bronx where you cannot even find any kind of decent food, but you can get some Cheetos and you can get some Coke. But you
Dr. Eric, that's going to be for a gift different. And you can buy some 50-cent juices, which is nothing. Yeah. Or you could go to a smoke shop. We're going to do a show on that. Next week, we're coming back because Florida, we're going to get a petition. I want to invite Dr. William Adam on. Now, I may not be able to get him next week, but I'm going to keep pressing. I'm going through the church. I'm going to find out what church the brother go to. Dr. Gregory, you're going to help me find out what church he goes to. I bet he's a Presbyterian.
No, he belongs to the He belongs to the AME church. He belongs to the AME church.
This is Warcry. Hit us up. Warcry.gmail.com. Let us pray for your kids, your church. We got to fight until we win. War Cry. Hit us up on our website. Until next week, thank you guys for being bold. Y'all ain't scared. You scared? We ain't scared. War Cry.
Thank you.
This is War Cry. We're on the wall crying out for our children, our communities, our schools, our churches, our families. This is War Cry. Welcome to our reality. Gun violence, Chicago, Philly, Detroit, New York, Atlanta, just to name a few. Our black children are dying day by day. This is War Cry. Police brutality. Hands up! Don't move. I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag All Lives Matter to Christ. This is War Cry. Drugs, rape, mass shootings, school violence, This is War Cry, galvanizing people to pray for our children and to take action. Let's march on Washington. We want prayer back in you. This is War Cry, candles, memorials in every corner in our neighborhood. Who died this weekend? Oh no, not Miss Martha's grandson. This is War Cry. He was only 16. His brother died last year. He was only 13. This is War Cry. We the people. We're the elected officials. This is War Cry. We need the church. Where's the church? Only on Sundays. Get to the streets, church. We need you out there. This is War Cry. Girl, be gone. Boy, be gone. Mothers crying. Fathers being locked up. Welcome to our reality. Identity crisis. This is War Cry. Oh, they're trying to remove our history off the textbook. Oh, critical race theory? It makes them feel bad. It's our reality. Fake reality shows. We want the real truth. Stay woke. This is War Cry. HBCUs under attack. This is War Cry. Equal pay for what we do. We want a reparation. This is War Cry. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait a minute. Is that somebody else they're burying that looks like us? Only 12. This is War Cry. Oh, let us come together and pray for our young people, pray for our communities, pray for our schools, pray for our churches. Pray that the government gives us what we need, a fair opportunity. This is War Cry, home of the land, home of the brave, land of the free. Who's free? Our men are locked up. This is War Cry. Hashtag mothers against gang violence. Hashtag fathers who love their sons. Hashtag what would Jesus do? This is War Cry.
I know who goes before me.